All right, welcome to the next episode of Last Take. A lot of things happening this week, mostly NFL. But before we start, just make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. I think we're up to 18 now. We will count every single week because we are intently watching. So if you're watching this and you don't subscribe, we will know, and I will find you, and I will ask you to politely subscribe again.
I'm just nervous for the week when our subscriber count is lower than the week before. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, you're gonna find me in a dark room for a little bit, just listening to like sad songs. But that hasn't happened yet. Yes.
Positive Vibes 2021 hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. But moving on to the NFL, before we get into the games and the big news, I want to touch on maybe the most tragic way to start 2021. Matt Schaub has retired from the NFL. I mean, how about a moment of silence for maybe the most mediocre career of all time?
Rest in peace to a beautiful career. I mean, the fact that we're talking about Matt Schaub in 2021, I forgot he was still in the league. This guy was Michael Vick's backup quarterback in Madden 04 on the Falcons, just to put that in perspective. So RIP to a beautiful boy, Matt Schaub. Gone but never forgotten.
Yeah, you sort of wonder what he'll do in retirement. I kind of think that like maybe we should start a series of what Matt Schaub's retirement life is like. You can call it Schaub's Jobs. what he does in retirement, all these new jobs he's gonna do.
I imagine him just coaching high school football and going 5-5 every single year.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see him starting like a farmer's business, corn on the Schaub.
Corn on the Schaub. Oh my God, yeah.
That's a virtual high five right there.
Construction company, Schaub the Builder.
Yes, we're making this skit series. We are going to introduce as many Matt Schaub jobs as possible, or we won't. So keep an eye out for that.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah. Keep your eyes peeled. That's something that could work. That could be the slogan for
the corn. I didn't even
corn
realize.
On the Schaub. Yeah.
Brain's always working.
Yeah, write that down.
Write that down now.
Yeah. Rest in peace to Matt Schaub. Awesome, very average career. Sad to see you go. But going into the actual NFL and what happened this week, an absolute travesty on Sunday night when the Eagles played the Washington football team. The Washington football team clinched the division, and maybe the most disappointing way possible for a lot of fans. I mean, I have a very little investment in the NFC East as a Seahawks fan, but obviously living in New York, you don't want to see the Giants succeed. And I was embarrassed for the Eagles. But Nick, I know you're ready to go in, so I'll let you run right into it.
Yeah, look, I've been tweeting about this entirely too much the past 24 hours, so I'm going to just try and get this off my chest and just clear everything up. So for everyone saying, oh, the Giants only won 6 games, like, yeah, I get it. They weren't a great football team this year. They should have controlled their own destiny. They didn't. They lost a handful of winnable games throughout the season. I completely understand that. But at the end of the day, the NFC East was a shit show, and they went into the last game of the NFL season with a chance to make the playoffs. So I'm not mad at the Giants for not winning more games because it just is what it is. I'm not mad at the Eagles, honestly. As soft of a move as I think that is from Doug Peterson, you can't – when you put yourself in the position to rely on another team to get into the playoffs, you've already messed up at that point. What I'm mad about is all these fans saying, oh, you can't be upset about this. Like, you're not allowed. You only have 6 wins. What's the cutoff? How many wins does my team need to have for me to be able to be upset that Doug Peterson put in a practice squad quarterback in a game my team needed to win? And look, I get it. They don't owe us anything. I'm sure he did it on purpose. There's no chance that if this was keeping the football team out of the playoffs by doing this, he would have done it. I really don't think so. I really think it wasn't to move up 3 draft spots. The motivation was to keep the Giants out of the playoffs. So, no. And I also hate the fact that people are trying to say, oh, well, maybe Hurts just wasn't playing well and he wanted to see what he had in Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld has been with the Eagles since 2017. They're not trying to see whether or not a practice squad quarterback is going to be the starter next year. If anything, you want to see more out of Jalen Hurts, who as a second-round pick has looked good so far for you. He's probably going to be the starter next year, or at least in the conversation. So for it to go down the way it went down, it is what it is. The Giants should have won another game earlier in the season, and that would have made them deserving of winning the division. But Don't tell me I can't be mad just because they only won 6 games, as if there's some sort of arbitrary cutoff where I need to be like, have this moment of clarity immediately after my team's eliminated and say, oh, well, it's okay. We didn't deserve it because X, Y, Z. Like, no, fuck that. I'm a sports fan. I'm into the game. I'm emotionally invested. I'm going to be upset when things play out the way they do. And I don't believe if that was the Jets or the Eagles or any of these other fan bases on the other end of that, they'd be pissed off too. So let me be angry and I'll get over it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, you have every right to be upset. And the Giants, they didn't get robbed of a playoff spot. I think that's important to make a distinction. They didn't get robbed because, like you said, they had 6 wins. Did they deserve to make the playoffs? Probably not. But they had a legit chance. Whatever you want to say about did they deserve it, it doesn't matter. They had a chance to make the playoffs. It's the way it works. Regardless, the Eagles had a responsibility, I think, people were talking about the integrity of the game and everything. The Eagles had a legit responsibility to play a competitive football game. Whether or not it meant anything for them, I just feel like you owe it to the rest of the NFL because, I don't know. Does the golden rule apply in sports? Treat others the way you want to be treated. If it was the reverse situation, don't you think the Giants would have played a legit game? They wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have put 3 years ago if it was Kyle Lauletta or something like that. They wouldn't have put their third string quarterback. They would have been out to compete because it means something to the fans to have a meaningful game. And I don't know. I just feel like the Giants, they had a legit chance at the playoffs taken away because the Eagles didn't feel, or they didn't feel that that was important enough.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking from the Eagles' perspective, when your whole team is upset at the fact that you punted a game away, clearly you made the wrong move. I thought for a long time that the Eagles were just scapegoating Carson Wentz, and which is true. He was bad, and they made the right move moving to Jalen Hurts. But I kind of think Doug Peterson just lost his whole locker room. I never thought he was going to be fired. I always thought okay, they're holding on to the Super Bowl from 2 years ago. Fine, they're going to give him another chance for sure. See what Jalen Hurts can do. But I think he just lost the locker room 100%. There was people Zach Ertz is crying. Clearly he's upset. Jason Kelsey, your star center, is so emotional about what you just did. You just lost it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he either was trying to get fired, or I think that is a move that's going to lose him a lot of respect in the locker room. I don't even really care about the integrity of the game. I get it. It is what it is. But it was a chance for me as a fan. I would have watched my team play a home playoff game, fans or no fans, whatever, a home Saturday night playoff game against Tom Brady, a team in the Bucs that the Giants played tight on Monday Night Football earlier in the season. I wanted that opportunity. It would have been fun, in this year that's been so shitty. Or I guess it's a new year now. I got to stop using that fucking stupid cliche. But it's been a rough go of it for New York sports fans the last however many years. It would have been a fun opportunity, whether they, got crushed in that game or not. But I'm just also sick of seeing all these stupid comparisons of people being like, oh, well, the Steelers didn't play Big Ben, or the Steelers undermining the integrity of the game. The Steelers won 12 fucking games in the division a week early, you morons. They're resting their starters before the playoffs. Big Ben's probably going to have a walking boot on both legs all week just to rest up for the game. It's so fucking stupid to me. And I could also even respect it. Not that I really respect tanking in any sense, but if the Eagles were 1-15 and trying to get in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, then fine. Yeah, lose the 1-14 and lose the fucking game. They moved from 9 to 6. They moved up 3 slots. So spare me that it's oh, this is a great decision for the Eagles. Doug Peterson is a fucking loser that lost his team, probably lost his locker room. He's fucking cursing out.
Lost his job, I think. Yeah.
He's cursing out radio announcers in Philly. Earlier in the year, there was an update anchor that read the update saying Eagles fans blame Doug Peterson the most for the loss in this some Twitter poll. And he's oh, real nice, Angelo. Way to read that before I come on.
72% coaching.
Head coach of the Eagles, Doug Peterson. Hi, Doug.
Good morning, Angelo. Thanks for the lead-in. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry. That was just.
That was awesome.
I know.
Hey, listen, that just puts me in a great mood today. I'm already in a good mood. I appreciate it.
I kind of felt you probably wouldn't be in a good mood.
Can I hang up now?
No, please don't, Doug.
I'm feeling my obligation right now. If I hang up, I'm feeling my obligation.
Doug, I fully understand.
I'm pissed off, Angelo.
Like, shut up, Doug. It's not your fucking, like, it's not the radio guy's problem that the fans hate you now. Like, sorry that it's not 2017 anymore. It's just so infuriating to me. Like, just, like, let Giants fans be mad because they got kind of screwed. And it is what it is from the Eagles' perspective. It is what it is. I don't care if they're upholding the integrity of the game. I think it's a fucking stupid move for him if he wants to keep that job and keep the locker room. I think that's dumb. I think Eagles fans are naive to think that there's no significance to what happened last night. But look, if they want to lose the game, then fine, lose the game. And it's on us for not beating them earlier in the season or beating the Cowboys or the Bears or whatever winnable game it was. But just let us Giants fans be angry in peace. That's all I ask.
Oh, yeah. No, like I said, Giants fans has every right to be mad. And going back to, like, the draft pick aspect, you make a great point. It's not like they were, like, fighting for the number one spot. And in a case where you were planning on tanking, you do what the Jaguars did. You fake an injury with James Robinson from the beginning of the week and you start your backup. You know what I mean? You don't do that in the middle of the game and make it seem like you're all of a sudden like you're fighting for a spot and then you pull it away. That's the main reason why I think Doug Peterson lost his locker room, because it wasn't like we're like, okay, you know what? We're wrapping up the season. We're tanking. You know what I mean? I feel like that would have been different if, like, the players knew going into that game that there was like, okay, you know what? We're punting the season away. We lost it. Whatever it is, it is. Like, we know what the situation is. But they went to that game like, I thought it was going to be competitive. They were winning. And then Doug Peterson rips it away from them. And it's just like, well, what are we doing here? Why did all of them go out on the field that day, warm up, have the potential of injury? You know, there's that risk every game, and then just have it ripped away. It just made no point to me. If you're going to tank, you got to do it right. And, like, you got to do it, like, so that the whole team is – I mean, I don't think the team is ever going to be behind it, but at least in a more structured way. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think the whole Eagles aspect went about it all wrong, and it screwed the Giants fans in multiple ways, clearly. Because not only do you not make the playoffs now, but now you won, and now you're going up in the draft spot. You know, so
you're totally right. And last thing I'll say on this before I drop this topic, because I know everyone's probably like, shut the fuck up, you whiny Giants fan, and I get it, but I'm going to be whiny for just this episode. You're completely right about what he said. Like, if you would have started Nate Sudfeld in that game, then, like, fine. Like, if you started Nate Sudfeld, sad everyone, but, like, what does that say to a guy like Darius Slay or, like, even Zach Ertz, who's probably going to get cut and needs to find a new team? Like, that you would have those guys on the field in a game you're not even trying to win. Like, what happens if they tear their ACL in a completely meaningless game? Not that it would make it better that, you know, Jalen Hurts is out there trying to win the game. That would obviously suck regardless since they're eliminated from the playoffs. But, like, how do you as a player get yourself up for a game, go out and compete Sunday Night Football, last game of the season, trying to prevent your division rival from celebrating the division on your field, and your coach decides, now we're not going to try and win this one? That would be infuriating to me. It just would be.
And the worst part is, I mean, I just said it, like, the Eagles had a strong chance to win that game. They were playing better. They were playing a lot better than the Washington football team. I'll tell you that. They had a very easy chance to run away with that game. I think if Jalen Hurts, like, he was struggling in the pass game, I'll give you that. But he was running all over them. He had every chance to run for 100 yards that game, maybe a third touchdown. And I'm sure he would have figured out the passing game because he's a talented quarterback.
And their defense played great. Their defense
played amazing. Even after they started the tank, they put in Nate Sudfeld. The defense still played really well. Like, they clearly didn't give up. So, I don't know. I think they went about it all wrong. As a Giants fan, Nick, are you upset that, like, in obviously hindsight's 2020, are you upset that the Giants went for it, and then the Washington football team won, and now you lost, like, all those draft spots? Like, in hindsight, are you just like, no, I'm glad we went for it. You got to do what you got to do?
No, I'm glad they went for it because I've been saying this all along. I've been saying this even since earlier in the season when people were saying, oh, the Giants shouldn't try and, like, you know, when they started to rack up a couple wins, saying they're dropping in the draft. We're not picking a quarterback this year. I don't even know what, you know, we're drafting based on need at this point. Like, we have, like, Bradbury, Martinez, like, Jabril, a lot of these guys are pieces in place. So I know that people still think the Giants are a laughing stock and a 6-10 season is nothing to hang your hat on. But this team is heading in the right direction. And I'm sorry, I didn't want them to tank and go, be a top 5-6 team in the draft for the fourth season in a row. Like, no, you got to learn to win some games at some point, make some progress. I'll live with the, 5 draft spots or however many draft spots we dropped it. It's not a big deal. If you draft right, you'll still get a difference maker at that point in the first round anyway. So
I was going to say two things off that point. One, drafting right is the most important thing. I honestly don't think, and the Seahawks are an example of this, and I think that a lot of the NFL teams should follow suit. What you pick a guy that you want in the first round, and you trade up and down according to that. And their Seahawks are really good at that. So it's all about like knowing who you want in the draft, what you need. It's not about where you pick. And I think that if you play for the pick, that's when you get into a lot of trouble. Unless it's a situation like the Jets or the Jaguars where you're playing for that next level talent. Without that, there's no point. It doesn't matter. If you're anything past 5, 6, 7, depending on the draft, you're drafting a mid-rounder, So don't get too wrapped up in that. So I agree with that 100%. Secondly, I agree with the fact that you can't evaluate a player unless they're under pressure. Like I honestly believe that. Like if you're playing a meaningless game, it's almost like backyard football to a degree. Obviously it's the NFL. But like, you know what I mean? It becomes a lot easier. The game moves a lot slower. When every throw matters, like the Giants, like for the Giants this past Sunday, it's like you're looking at a real team. You're looking at a team that's like given everything, and like that's like their height. And clearly they know how to win under pressure. So I think that's a huge win for the Giants, regardless of what happened to them either way. You know that the core of that team is there, and like that's like official now.
Especially for a young quarterback like Daniel Jones. Like if he is going to be the guy, we know he has a bad turnover problem. I want to see him have that ball security in late close games. I want to see that. So for me to see that on Sunday, it was great. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want to see that out of your team if you want to have any chance of competing in the near future.
Yeah. So vent session over. Yeah. I guess, you could talk about this for the rest of the offseason because I think it's going to result in Peterson's job, a huge shift in the Eagles. And, obviously it's going to affect all this draft capital and obviously the playoffs now as well. But moving on to the playoffs, and I guess we'll start with the Washington football team because that's what we're basing off of. I love their storyline. I think you take Ron Rivera, you take Alex Smith, you combine those together, all the adversity they've had, and, they're a playoff team, call it what you will with the NFC East, but they're a playoff team. I think they earned their spot for the most part. I still don't think that they beat Brady. I know a lot of people are saying that the pass rush has a chance to kind of overtake them. I don't think they have a chance. I mean, look, they lost to the Giants. Giants are a good team. But at the end of the day, they're still a 6-win team against Tom Brady and a really good defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I don't know. My pick for that is that the Washington football team gets almost probably blown out. I think the Bucs have been playing really good.
Yeah, no, like you said, if anyone's going to win the division besides the Giants, I would rather it be the Washington football team. Ron Rivera beating cancer, Alex Smith with his miracle comeback. I like Chase Young a lot just from watching him at Ohio State. I think he's an absolute stud. It still makes me sick that the Giants didn't get the chance to draft him last year. That's neither here nor there. But I'm with you. I do think the Buccaneers are rounding into form at this point. It was, with Brady, a group that didn't have a lot of familiarity, but now they're looking to, really fire on all cylinders. Antonio Brown's getting involved and looking more like his old self, which is scary. I know the pass rush is the best way to disrupt Brady, so maybe they can, try and keep it close at least for a little bit. But at the end of the day, if that offense hits their stride, as much as I do like Alex Smith, that offense is not going to be able to keep up with the Buccaneers putting points on the board.
Yeah, that's more what it is for me. I think that the defense is going to play well. Maybe they'll hold the Bucs to like 20 to 25 points, but I just don't see that Washington offense getting much going against the Bucs defense because I think that their offense has so many big names that their defense gets really overlooked. So I just don't see anyone other than Terry McLaurin, maybe Logan Thomas doing a little bit, but I feel like they're going to just zone in on Antonio Gibson and, have one good cornerback to just kind of just zone in on Terry McLaurin. And then what do you have? You're playing Alex Smith and Logan Thomas. So, like, I don't know. I think it's going to be like – my prediction for that is like a 28-7 game, something in that range. Like, they'll put up a fight, be relatively competitive, but I don't think they stand a chance.
Yep.
So my pick for that is the Buccaneers. That's the 4 and the 5 seed game. Packers obviously have a bye. They're the 1 seed. We won't see them this week. Moving on to the Saints-Bears game. Call me crazy. I kind of like the Bears. Am I wild to think that? Because there's just something about the Saints and their recent playoff luck that just doesn't seem to fit. I just feel like Breeze's career has just been ever since that pass interference call that went wrong. I just feel like their trajectory for their team just has just come down like that. And I think this is the cherry on top of a really sour end to Drew Brees' end of his career. I think the Bears have a really good defense. For somehow, some way, their offense is actually kind of starting to look legit. They were competitive with the Packers for a little bit this last week. I think Allen Robinson has a really good game. David Montgomery's kind of turned into a star. This is my bold pick of the week. I don't know if I would actually take this if I was putting money on it, but I can see the Bears winning this game. So I'll go on the record right now saying the Bears win.
I'm not a huge fan of the Saints. I actually kind of don't like the Saints. A couple weeks ago on the show, I actually had made the prediction that Sean Payton was going to go coach the Jets and Trevor Lawrence. So that was before, obviously, the Jets got hot, won a couple of games. But I don't know. I can't pick Mitch Trubisky to beat Drew Brees in a playoff game, no matter how many broken ribs he has, no matter how, good the Bears have looked at times, much as I love Allen Robinson. I got to go with the Saints on this one. I think that, they're just a more complete team. And I think that, if they can just get the run going with Kamara, I think that it could be a long day for the Bears.
And well, you said the reason, and I'm not even talking about football. Football is out of this one for me. I said a few football things, but the reason why I think that the Bears are going to win this game is because that franchise is in such a weird gray area that Mitch Trubisky is going to make this hard for them. they are going to make such an uncomfortable decision. He's been playing well at the end of the year. They already declined his 5th-year option, so he's a free agent after next year. And I want them to have to go into this offseason thinking oh my God, he beat the Saints. Oh my God, of course he did. Now we have to think about paying this guy, this average quarterback, real quarterback money, and they're going to sign him back because of this performance, and he's going to stink again. And I think the Bears are just going to loop back over into quarterback health. So that's the real reason. Yeah.
I want it to happen really bad. I really do. Especially now that you've said that, I'm getting giddy inside because I love to think about how much they're going to wrestle with that decision. If they win one playoff game and get annihilated by the Packers in the second round, they're do we keep the quarterback or the coach? Neither of them. It's both of them. I don't know. So yeah, that would be absolutely hilarious. I don't know. I'm going to stick with the Saints, but cautiously optimistic. I may have to sprinkle the Bears.
Yeah, just for the fun that would cause and the chaos that would lead to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So that's my pick and my optimistic pick, my bold pick of the week. The other NFC game, that's the 2 versus the 7 seed. On the other NFC game is, I think you know who I'm going to pick in this game, but it's the Seahawks as a 3 seed, the Rams as a 6. I'm personally scared for that game. The Rams scare me a lot. They have an elite defense, number 1 in yards for the season. But, I'm going to go Seahawks. Say what you want about their defense. Their defense has been top 5, believe it or not, since week 8 or 9. Coming up, it was 2 or 3 weeks before the Giants game. So that would probably be week 9 or 10. But since then, they've been a top 5 defensive unit. Their points per game just finally, because of that last game, finally went over 20 points a game. In that stretch, they were averaging below giving up 20 points a game. So their defense looks legit again. I think they can compete defensively with the Rams to a degree. Their offense doesn't look great, which is obviously a paradox because everyone thinks the Seahawks offense, defense, but now it's kind of swinging back the other way because the Seahawks can't do anything consistently. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking that they'll figure it out a little bit, just not to beat the Rams because the Rams offensively just seem like an absolute dumpster fire. So I'm thinking this is going to be an ugly game with a lot of defense. So I'm thinking it's going to be something 17 at 12. like just like a gross score that the Seahawks win.
It's a don't overthink it game for me. Am I taking Russell Wilson or an either not healthy Jared Goff, or who's the guy that started for the Rams yesterday? I don't even know his name.
I actually watched the game because I wanted to see what was going to happen with the NFC West because the Cardinals lost. But I don't even remember his name. Yeah. I didn't pay attention enough to pick up his name.
I'll take Russell Wilson, even though I know, like you said, they haven't been firing on all cylinders. I'll take the Seahawks and their experience. The Rams, they fool you into thinking they're good because people suck off McVay all the time and they have this beautiful new stadium. But at the end of the day, they lost to the Jets at home in maybe the worst coach game I've seen outside of Anthony Lynn performances all year in the NFL by Sean McVay. And that's saying something considering Adam Gase coached all 16 games this year. Rest in peace, Adam Gase in New York, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knew that was coming since the beginning of the season, but still.
I'll drop in this note. Only Adam Gase could, within days of being fired or rumored to be fired, be mentioned for jobs under Bill Belichick with the Patriots and under Nick Saban with Alabama. And that is unbelievable to me how this man, Adam Gase, is just going to immerse himself into one of the top two, dynasties of the last 20 years in both college football and the NFL. Unbelievable.
You gotta wonder, either one, who he knows, or two, what dirt he's got on half the NFL. They just keep sprinkling him all around the NFL, and head coaching jobs are just placing him into gift wrap dynasties.
I'm pretty sure Adam Gase might have caused the fappening. He just has a nonstop, just a MacBook Pro full of just celebrity nudes that he just uses to get a job at whatever city.
He's in every interview he just walks in with the book. He's like, "Is this you?"
This you. But yeah, no. I'll go Seahawks. As inconsistent as their defense has been, now that the defense is looking better, the offense isn't looking as good as they have been. I'll go Seahawks. My only stipulation is I'm worried that Russell Wilson is going to do that thing where he picks one receiver to throw to, and it's going to be whoever Jalen Ramsey's covering. So as long as he stays away from doing that, I have the Seahawks win pretty comfortably.
Did you see what he did last week? 12 receptions to Tyler Lockett, 3 to DK Metcalf. Just 6 and 6, please. Please, it'll make it so much better.
Russ, spread the wealth, bud.
Spread the wealth, man. Moving over to the AFC, Chiefs in the 1 seed. Moving down to because I got the list here. Bills as his 2 seed playing the 7 seed Colts. Personally, I don't think that's a game. I don't even have much to say about that other than the Bills are going to dominate them.
Hammer the only thing I'll say is I will be very upset if we're robbed of the Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship that America so desperately needs, because we deserve that.
Yes.
As Americans, we deserve Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen duking it out to see who goes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, last year I thought we deserved Ravens-Chiefs. This year I want Bills-Chiefs 10 times more than I wanted to. Yeah, so I personally don't think that's a chance of happening. But we actually won't see because I'm looking at the bracket here, we won't see the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC Championship. We'll see it in the divisional round.
The Bills are the 2, are they not?
Yeah, they are. But look, the way I guess it depends on who actually wins.
It reseeds, though. The one wouldn't play the 2 before the championship game.
All right, then there's whatever picture I have pulled up is just because now that you say that, it makes sense.
I don't think it's bracket. I think it just reseeds.
Yeah, it would reseed. It also depends on who wins, and it gets all included and everything. So past that, Bills are a lock. I mean, I don't even want to talk about the Bills are just a much better team than the Colts. This game will be very interesting. So the 3 seed Steelers versus the 6 seed Browns. I think the Browns win that game. The Steelers are clearly just in a funk. Browns are elevated. I think they're pumped coming off actually making the playoffs. I think they're going to be very hyped. I think the Steelers are playing scared. And this is literally the matchup we saw last week. Granted, the Steelers rested their starters, but I still think they played relatively hard. So I don't know. I like the Browns in that game. I think Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt take over. Baker Mayfield just plays good enough, and the Steelers just kind of become one of the most disappointing 11-0 to first-round exit teams we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. I think the Browns win. The Steelers have been dead to me ever since they couldn't beat the Bengals, and Big Ben couldn't get me 10 points to win my fantasy championship on Monday Night Football. But I think a team that's lost 4 out of their last 5 to end the season after, such a positive trajectory. I think that it's going to be tough for them to flip the switch, especially resting all their starters last week. I just don't think they're going to have what it takes to just come out and turn it up and beat what is honestly a good Browns team. If you have Myles Garrett coming off the edge, and like you said, as long as they pound the ball and run with Chubb and Hunt and Baker doesn't do anything stupid, I think it's a really good Browns team, and I think that they just have the momentum going into this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the playoffs, momentum is a lot more important than people let on. It's like, oh, the better team usually wins. I don't think that's often the case. I think that's why those 7 and 9 teams, when you look in the past, I don't think it's going to happen this year, like I already said. But like in the past, when you see those 7 and 9 teams, like sneak into the playoffs and beat like a actually good team, it's because of momentum. I think they have, like the, that unity, going into it. And I think the Browns have that, and right now the Steelers don't. So going on the Browns. Final game is the 4 seed versus the 5 seed. Titans the 4 seed, Ravens the 5 seed. I got another upset here, if you even want to call it that, but I think the Ravens win. They've been running the ball. I saw the other day, this past game, they ran for over 400 yards. So clearly they're getting back to what they know. I think they kind of thought, like throughout the beginning of the season, that people were going to catch on to the run. And they kind of started passing a lot more. But they're going back to what they do best. They're clearly running all over teams. J.K. Dobbins is unreal. Lamar Jackson doing his thing. And the Titans are just a weird team. I don't think that they're much. Derrick Henry is just literally putting the team on his back every week. Granted, Ryan Tannehill is playing amazing. What's the other guy? The receivers? It's A.J. Brown, right? A.J. Brown, really good. But, I mean, that's Derrick Henry's offense. And I just don't think he's going to be able to do enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. The Ravens are rounding into shape at the right time. As great as Derrick Henry is, shout out him for, having another monster game yesterday, reaching 2,000
yards. 2,000 yards
on the season. He is really unbelievable. There's words can't describe how good this guy is. But I think the Ravens are kind of similar to what we said about the Browns. I think both those teams were kind of like trying to put like Jackson and Baker in positions where it's like, oh, so this guy is good. Like he is, like Lamar is the MVP from last year. Baker is the number 1 pick. When it's kind of like the best position they can put them in is just pounding the ball and just running it. And that's really what's opened up the offense, for both these teams. So I think the Ravens have figured that out too. I think it'll be a close game. The Titans will come to play, but I think the Ravens win for sure.
Yeah, you got to Lamar Jackson, I don't even want to say he's playing game manager because I think that's what more Baker Mayfield does. He plays game manager. But in the passing game, Lamar Jackson needs to play game manager. You know what I mean? Like he's got to let his running do like the playmaking, and just when he does pass it, just essentially don't fuck it up. So I think if he can do that, we'll be good. So that's the playoff slate going into this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'm really looking forward to that. I love the NFL playoffs. But moving on to the college football playoffs, I think it's January 11th, the following Monday. So we're going to get Saturday NFL football playoffs, Sunday NFL football playoffs, Monday college football national championship. And that's going to be Alabama versus Ohio State. Nick, what do you think about that?
It should be a good one. I mean, Alabama, I don't want to say they shit pumped Notre Dame because Notre Dame ended up backdoor covering, but anyone that watched, that wasn't a game. It was pretty much what everyone expected. So Notre Dame should be banned from the playoff for at least the next 5 years. I don't know how many times we're going to do this song and dance where they play. I don't want to say they play nobody because I know they beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, but they play, I can't even say they were outside of conference. They were in a conference this year, but everyone knows what I'm trying to say. Notre Dame has just shown time and time again they are not good enough in the playoff. Like until they go undefeated and like clearly show that they are deserving of the playoff spot, they should be out of the playoff. So losing to Clemson the way they did in the conference championship should have shown us that they were not deserving. So Notre Dame needs to be banned. Ohio State coming out and beating Clemson was something people didn't see coming. Honestly, I'm a Big Ten guy. I watch a lot of Ohio State. My little brother goes there. I knew that they were going to put up more of a fight than people gave them credit for because they did have a lot of people coming back that they didn't have in the Northwestern game and the Big Ten championship, but I didn't see that coming. I mean, Justin Fields played just about as close to a perfect game as you can. Took a hit to the ribs and stayed in through 6 touchdowns. The guy was unbelievable. Like, that's like the ceiling of Justin Fields. Like, that's the guy. That's why he's probably
It's
going
a
to be
great ceiling too.
Yeah, so he is unbelievable. He's a stud. I know he took a lot of slander the past couple weeks because he kind of didn't really play that great against Indiana and Northwestern. But Justin Fields is a stud, and he showed it. And I do think we have the two best teams in college football, in Alabama and Ohio State, matching up on Monday. So that should be a fun one.
Yeah, I went on the record and I said probably about 3 weeks ago that we're going to see the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields in that game. And I still think that Trevor Lawrence by far and away is the better long-term quarterback, but I think Justin Fields closed the gap a little bit. I didn't think he was as good of a deep ball thrower as he was. I thought he was, obviously a talented athlete. I thought he was a good quarterback. I thought he was deserving of, if anyone did take him at the time. I don't know if the Jets are going to, that's a whole different conversation. But I thought he was deserving of the second overall pick, but I still thought there was a clear gap there. But now if I don't think they're going to do it, but if the Jaguars took Justin Fields as the first pick, I'd be like, no, you shouldn't have done that, obviously. But now there's reason, could it happen? So bottom line, I think he closed the gap. And I think that was really cool to see. But Alabama, Ohio State, national championship. I mean, I'm going to say it again. I think Alabama's going to win. But this does remind me a lot of when Deshaun Watson beat Alabama a few years ago. I think that was 2017 or 2016. I forget exactly what year it was, but it reminds me a lot of it because people love Deshaun Watson. They thought he was great, but it was okay, Alabama's clearly going to win. I think Justin Fields is kind of in that same category where it's everyone loves Justin Fields, but come on, it's Alabama. Everyone knows it's going to win. So right. I think he's going to put up another surprising performance. He's going to surprise a lot of people. So my pick is still Alabama. I don't think you can go with them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Ohio State sneaking in, similar to what Deshaun Watson did with Clemson.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah. So, that'll be a fun weekend moving in from Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Moving on, just want to touch on the NBA a little bit, just kind of what's going on around the league, just because you never really hit on that. NFL is obviously full swing. So in the Western Conference, we're seeing Clippers in first place, which is actually surprising considering how much they got mollywopped by the Mavericks that one time. But they're kind of doing good. It's mostly what you'd expect. In the West, Warriors are the 8 seed, a little surprising. The Nuggets down at the 11 seed, a little surprising. But again, still early, not much to really cover. I just want to say that I'm very excited about the Suns getting a hot start. I love the Suns. I don't know. I'm not a huge Knicks guy. I like them. I've never really had an NBA team. My team might be the Suns. I don't know why. I love Devin Booker. I love that Chris Paul trade, and I think DeAndre Ayton is going to be an absolute stud. Just letting Chris Paul take the ball up so all Devin Booker has to worry about is score is something that's awesome. I think the Suns are actually going to be a legit contender. So I'm excited about seeing them getting off to a hot start.
Yeah, Suns are definitely a fun team to watch, and I like Luka, but the Mavs being last in the West right now is music to my ears as a Knicks fan, because if the Knicks were to somehow sneak into the top 5 in this draft obviously there's a good enough chance we could be top 5 just based on our own pick, but if we could get another top 5 pick just because of the Porzingis trade, I would be unbelievably thrilled. Yeah,
that would be awesome. And speaking of the Knicks, they're off kind of a hot start. 3-3. I think, granted, based on how much young talent you have, kind of better than you were expecting in terms of, who you've beat and, how well you've played.
Yeah, as of the taping of this, winning his team in New York, down 4 to the Hawks right now going into the fourth quarter. So, listen, I don't want to get too optimistic, but Julius Randle actually looks like he knows how to play basketball now, and RJ Barrett has, so far so good on my most improved player prediction. He's really, looking like a different guy this year. Not that he was bad last year, but I think he's showing that he's ready to take that next step.
Yeah. A few other surprises in the Eastern Conference is the Magic are 4-2, and the Cavaliers are 4-2. Oh, and the Hawks are 4-2. So I don't think there's 3 teams that you expected to be at the bottom that actually have a pretty good nucleus and are playing well to start. So I think it's going to be a very interesting NBA season, off to an interesting start. So there's that. No one really cares about the NBA regular season anyway. But it's interesting. Just interesting to see how things start to develop. And, all these young teams starting to kind of take place and kind of switch over with the teams that have been good in the past. So that's this week in sports. We are planning on doing an MLB offseason video soon. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. Not a lot happening there, but we're kind of looking to kind of, adjust our predictions based on trades that might happen, trades that have happened, and, where things might fall out from there. So tune in next week. Go Seahawks.
Go. I don't know what I'm rooting for. I don't know.
Go Seahawks too. Go Seahawks. Go Seahawks.
That's fine.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Tweet at us if you hate us or if you like us, either or.
Only hate. I only want hate tweets this week.
I would kind of I'm a little sensitive, so all nice stuff to me.
All right, nice stuff to Rob, shitty stuff to me.
Yeah. All right. Write that down, everyone.
All right.
See you next week.
Later, guys.